Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, we are combining some of your guys' favorite episodes and episode topics by combining Reddit and relationship chat. We're going to be looking at the Reddit relationship advice subreddit,
which we actually have done once before, but it's been over a year ago, and it's not a Reddit week going often. So we're bringing it back for this one. And so we've got like 6 different scenarios each that we have, picked in sort of for the episode. And we'll get to those after we do our whole catch-up, spotlight, updates. You guys know the drill. So, would you like to start with your weekly spotlight, or?
Sure. Mine's like I have 2 spotlights.
I think, are they the same as mine?
Maybe.
Yesterday's birthday dinner.
Yeah.
And then the Hawkeyes winning their football game. We live such simple lives. I'm easy to please.
So we recently turned 25. Since our last episode, our birthday was last Saturday. And on that day, there was an Iowa football game. So what did we do but just go to our sister's house and watch the game?
It was much more pleasant than I was expecting it to be, though. Like, the first half,
I was like, oh no, here we go again.
This is a bunch of the same. Like, we're up 6-0 after the first half, but it was because of 2 field goals. We hadn't done any touchdowns. And, in theory, we're playing, like, no offense, but, like, not a great team. And
like,
so,
who was it? Illinois State? No offense to Illinois State fans out there, but.
And, I mean, the stats that it had showed on the screen of just, like, how horrible our offense has been the past 2 seasons, was it showing? We have only had, like, last year, I don't know exactly what year was what, in 2023 and in 2022, in the entire season of football, the entire 12 games that you have in a season, we had 2 wide receiver, 2 or 3, depending on the season, 2 or 3 wide receiver touchdown passes. That is not good. And in the second half of that game, because the second half we showed up and showed out.
We scored 34 points in the second half.
And
I want the stat of, like, what was our last time we scored 40 points? That's what I need to know.
There was some stat that it showed where it was like, I think we had at least scored over 40 points sometime in, like, 2019.
That's still a while ago.
I know. Yeah. So I am optimistic, but I'm also still reserved. We were kind of going through saying, what score do we think it's going to be? Say your predictions now. And my guess was 17-10. I don't know what yours was.
Mine was 13-6, I think.
And then
I still picked us to win.
Our dad had said like 31-0, and then Ashton said 30-0. And I was kind of like, you guys,
are we talking about the same team here?
Where are we getting this from? When was the last time we scored 30 points? However, I stood corrected, and the score was better, 40-0. So, congrats to the team. I'm really
Can't wait to see you this Saturday. We're going to the Iowa State game.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. It'll be fun, and it'll be nice to get to a football game and actually, hopefully, like, be able to cheer a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a spotlight. And then yesterday, we did a dinner. It was like a delayed birthday dinner with us and then Haley and Maggie. And we went to a restaurant called The Burger Shed. It's in Altoona. We have been a couple times before, but I was like, it seemed like I kind of forgot about it because I don't go there often. But it's good. It's got good burgers. It's got shakes. It's a casual but nice restaurant. And so the vibes seemed good. And we sat and yapped at that dinner for like 2 hours.
Yeah. That's a long dinner.
That's a long dinner.
It's funny. Maggie had texted us after the fact.
And Maggie was so nice and she gave us a ride.
I know. I was like, this is my birthday present. And Maggie paid for my dinner and then Haley paid for Megan's. I was like, thank you.
I was like, I wasn't expecting this.
But like, I hate driving. Not that like I get nervous when I'm driving or like I'm not capable. I just like would rather not drive. Like if I could just sit and get from point A to point B and not be the one observing traffic and like, doing the driving, that would be my preference. So then Maggie was like, I will take you guys. I was like, thank you. That's all I could ever ask for. It was just basic burgers. We got some shakes when we were done. It was delicious.
What else is new? What else has been going on?
book updates.
Book updates. I was also going to give like a little music taste update.
Mm.
I have been loving, first of all, Sabrina Carpenter's basically full album. My top songs would be, like in no particular order, Taste, Good Graces, Bed Chem, Lie to Girls is also growing on me a lot because I think that's, like, the lyrics are just funny to me. Those would be my top. Bruno Mars song with Lady Gaga. It's both of their songs. I don't know who owns it more. I think it's just an equal endeavor. Die with a Smile. I'm also really liking that one. I've heard mixed reviews on that. Some people like,
Really?
yeah. Granted, it's number 3 on
I was like, it
Billboard.
could be that mixed.
But I saw like their combined posts on Instagram. Like some people were like, we didn't need this, or like, I don't know. I was just like, okay.
You know what's weird is
I
that
would
the
happily
day
take
before
this.
that song came out, Megan and I were like, Bruno needs some more music. Like, we need more stuff. He hasn't posted anything
And I love the
individually
cover
or with
photo
Silk
of
Sonic
that.
at all.
Like, I love their outfits on the art, the single art. And then also, I gotta give a shout out to Diet Pepsi by Addison Rae because that has been, it's on my on repeat now on Spotify. And I just like can't stop singing it. Like I'm walking around the house
Yeah.
and I just like keep singing that song. It's very catchy and it's good. So those are like the songs that have been, that's been my soundtrack recently. Also Benson
Don't have
Boone.
any other. Yeah. Did
Pretty
we say
Slowly.
Pretty Slowly as
It's a good one. He
His
always
newest
releases
one.
bops. Can always count on him.
Yeah, I'm listening to basically the same things you are right now.
Okay. Book update. I am currently reading it has a bunch of P's. There's a problem. There's Peridot. But I am,
The Promise of Peridot?
or is it
Of
Promise?
Peridot?
I think that's right.
I know Megan's book's better than
It
yours.
is a promise of Peridot. It's the second book in the Sacred Stones trilogy, and I'm enjoying it. Although I must say, like, I've really been struggling. Every time I'm starting a new book, I feel like during the initial, like, getting into the book, I'm really, like,
Struggling.
clawing tooth and nail to, like, get invested into it. So I just, like, haven't gone into it yet where I'm, like, actively reading a little bit more. So work in progress. I started it like a couple days ago and I haven't necessarily read every single night like I've intended to, but it is what it is, and I'm hoping to pick up the pace.
I am reading a book called Small Game right now. I think it's like marketed probably as like a mystery thriller. I'm hopefully going to finish it. I thought today. I don't know if it's going to happen. Maybe tomorrow because I need to read our book club book before book club next week. I haven't started it. Small Game is basically about this girl who's like on this survival show, but then like stuff goes haywire, and it's like just starting to go haywire, so I'm kind of
Like
figuring
a
that
Survivor
out.
show, like Naked and Afraid.
Kind
or
of
like
it's like they have to like survive for 6 weeks basically, like
okay,
her and
so
the
it's like
cast.
Survivor.
But there's like no challenges.
Okay. I also finished reading the rule book by Sarah Adams, if I had not said that already on the podcast. And that one I gave 3.75. It was, it was a good classic Sarah Adams, lighthearted romance, no stakes, but I have enjoyed some of her other books more. So those are the updates. Without further ado, do we jump in? Do we really have that, like, nothing else to talk about?
No,
10 minutes is 10 minutes in. We're already going on to the episode.
it's a new record. Okay, I can go first. I, 28 male, broke up with my girlfriend at 26 female a month back, but she texts me every day. Should I ignore her messages? 5 weeks back, I ended my 15-month relationship with my girlfriend. She had been pushing for us to get married, and I was not sure if we were fully compatible and was not feeling that I wanted to marry her. Over the last 6 months, I had conveyed to her multiple times that I'm not sure about us getting married. Since the breakup, she has been calling and texting nonstop. I did speak to her on and off for the first 2 weeks, but have not responded in 3 weeks. Her texts are very emotionally charged and basically try to convince me to get back together, and her telling me how perfect we are for each other. I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing by ignoring her messages. I've requested her multiple times that we need to go no contact, but still she keeps texting me with the constant messages coming in. I'm also feeling maybe I made a mistake and we actually work great together. I don't really have a specific question. I'm just very confused and I feel like an a-hole for breaking up, and I'm also not able to move on.
I feel like if you had the gut reaction when you were in the relationship that you probably weren't going to be compatible enough for marriage, I feel like any regret you might be feeling now, like I don't think it's saying, okay, now like I actually think we should get married. I don't think that's probably what your regret is telling you. You can miss her. Like it's hard to have been in a relationship with someone and have someone that you were talking to and confiding in frequently, so you might be having withdrawals from that. I don't know what you've said like in the initial 2 weeks that you broke up and said you were responding to her, but if you have not already said, hey, I understand that you're hurting and I'm sorry for that, but we are not getting back together, and just like said very clearly it's not happening, please stop contacting me, then make sure you do that. And then 2, if it's warranted,
I would block him.
Block her.
Like, if you, this was like until we got to the end, he like was kind of like, maybe I do want to get back together. I was like, you are not dating. She doesn't get to contact you whenever she wants. So I would have blocked them already.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. You're weirding me out by saying you want to get back together. And also by saying I'm also not able to move on. It's been literally 5 weeks. You don't need to move on right now.
Feel what you're feeling.
Like, you don't have to worry about dating right now. Just
enjoy
move on
singlehood
from your relationship. Yeah, my gut instinct was lock.
All right, you guys, a lot of mine that I have today are quite long, so bear with me in my reading. And if we get the point and I can stop reading earlier, then I will do that, okay? So, first one is this really just a manners disagreement? My 35 female, husband 38 male, and I just can't see eye to eye on this one. My 35 female, husband 38 male, and I are fairly recently married earlier this year. We had a nasty fight over the weekend, ending our camping trip early. I guess I'm asking for perspective or validation on it from outsiders, kind of venting too. My best friend lives in another state and I don't see her often. My husband hasn't spent much time with her, only on 2 occasions over the course of a day or 2, so they don't know one another well. She has little kids, etc. When I was visiting her recently, she overheard him call her a nickname on the call that she didn't like. She asked me to speak to him about it and to let her know that she didn't like that nickname. I did that same night before ending the call, letting him know that she doesn't like it. It came up again this past Friday. I spent all day getting our car packed for a camping weekend. Literally all of the gear, food, snacks, etc. On the drive out to the site, he uses the nickname and I bring up again that she didn't like it, and she asks me to let him know. We get into discussion about it for 30 minutes, during which he says things such as, I'm going to try it out around her anyways, just once, see how it goes. I want to hear from her why she doesn't like it. I start feeling myself get pretty angry that he can't respect this simple request, and the idea of him being disrespectful to her makes me feel incredibly upset. I'm quiet for the next 30 minutes in the car and don't really want to talk to him. I'm just kind of sitting there and stewing on how the conversation went. After some time, he mentions he can tell I'm upset, and we get back into it. This is basically like a little bit unnecessary, just like they continue arguing and fighting over this, so I'm skipping ahead a little bit. The next day, he demands that I apologize for those 30 minutes in the car that I was quiet instead of doing any addressing of how he behaved during the argument. How upsetting it was for me to hear him say repeatedly that he was going to still call her the name and wanted to talk to her about it. He says that him calling her the name during a statement to ask her about why she doesn't like it is different than calling her the name. That doesn't make sense to me, but maybe I'm not getting it. And then there's also a part in here that says, we see a therapist on weekends every Sunday morning, and she said that my being quiet after the argument was the main issue over how he behaved. I'm genuinely failing to see it that way. I've since apologized for that time I was quiet when I was upset and let him know I should have told him I needed space instead of stewing. He hasn't apologized for anything, blah, blah, blah. That's the main gist.
Why does your husband care so much?
I was reading this and I was just like, I feel like this, you can't change people, okay?
First and foremost.
This is the kind of person who likes to get a rise out of people.
Like, he likes to push people's buttons.
He likes to annoy people just to see how they're going to react. And I personally don't like those people because I feel like to them, everything is just a game and nothing is serious. And even though you're trying to have a serious conversation on something that is serious, to your friend and then therefore is serious to you too because you care about your friend, you would think that the person that you're married to would respect that enough to say, okay, I understand this isn't something that you want to joke about. We can joke about other things if you're really that set on being such a jokester. Find other things to joke about. And clearly, like, she didn't even tell a friend why she didn't, or maybe she doesn't really have a reason for why she doesn't like the nickname.
It's like,
except for the fact that she just doesn't like it.
Megan, for example, like a common nickname for Megan is Meg. Megan hates that nickname.
I just don't resonate with that. It's not me.
And so, like, you could say the same thing. It's like, if someone would be like, well, why don't you like it? There's no why. You just don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know what kind of nickname, like, was it her name shortened or something, or like some weird initial thing?
But like, people get to have
Decide
some
what they're called.
claim over what they're called. So to me personally, I don't think she should be apologizing. And I think that I'm kind of shocked the therapist even said what they said. But in some ways, I was trying to think of like how the therapist is like trying to come about this, because like they're obviously trying to come from like a place of like, let's create solutions. We're coming here from
I would be
being
such a bad therapist.
He is the problem.
Could you imagine us sitting down and being like, you guys can't be together?
The therapist is probably having to pinpoint like the breakdown in communication, and like he was saying that, not changing his mind, not doing anything. She's the one that decided to like
Go
stop
silent.
and go silent, and the therapist probably had to be like, you can't do that.
But she wasn't silent for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Like the first 30 minutes when they're talking, like fighting about this, and then she goes silent. I feel like that's different than just like giving silent treatment. Like she tried to explain, and then she was like, I give up.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It seemed like they were going in circles. So at what point, it seemed like they were going in circles all weekend. And still no one agreed.
Why did their camping trip end early?
I don't know.
Just couldn't get over it. Were they going camping with the friend? We need the details.
We didn't really talk the rest of the day. I told him I don't want to talk to him, and I think it's fine that I was mad after how he handled such a simple and clear request. We left our trip early. That's all it says. Like, that's the segue.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think we said our piece. What's our advice, though? What does she want advice on?
Her ending question was, he hasn't apologized to me for anything, for calling me a coward, said I am one, for telling me I love to lie. He says it's true. I don't know where that came from. And for not respecting the simple boundary, and he's still angry at me and wants me to apologize for getting angry instead of just having a rational discussion.
But you did have a discussion. Okay, my advice is, you obviously are married to him. Look to see, like, within the patterns of, like, the way he behaves and interacts with other people. Is this, like, the same kind of thing where we talked about, where it's, like, is he the kind of person who just likes to nag people and, like, kind of annoy people a little bit and, like, get a rise out of them? Like, is that part of his personality? And, like, maybe in some cases you find it, like, funny or endearing or whatever. But you then have to realize, like, this is an extension of that. And so, like, what about this? If the other things don't annoy me, like, what annoyed me about this instance? Mm-hmm. And, like, can I talk to him then about, like,
this is
why I like everything else? Like, why I think everything is fine when he does it this way, but then, like, why did this specific situation annoy me? If you wanted some advice to, like, you know, stay married to the man and work through things, that's my advice.
I think that's good.
Okay. Next one that I have. Boyfriend, 26 male of years, told me, 30 female, during our anniversary he didn't want kids after saying he did. How do I deal with this when I'm hurting? It's my boyfriend and I's anniversary today, so we celebrated Saturday because he was supposed to work today and tomorrow for the holiday. People that give details like that, I'm like, I don't care. Anyway. He took me out to eat, and we already bought each other gifts. I was a little disappointed because he didn't put much effort into his outfit. After me saying I wanted to dress nice for the date and bought a dress I ended up not wearing because I would have been overdressed. Well, last night he came down, or he became down? I don't know. His job never called him to come in today, and he made a comment being upset about it, so I can tell he was disappointed. As this is like a long run-on sentence, so forgive me for sounding like an idiot. They wrote it like an idiot. So he was disappointed because he wanted the extra hours. I asked him what was wrong this morning. He said he doesn't know if he wants kids, and that was also bothering him that night when he read up on his mental health. It surprised me because he told me about a month ago he was ready for kids and marriage. He has been extremely possessive with everything I do, which had me concerned until he explained he is protective and loves me and doesn't want anything to happen to me. Additionally, he is bipolar. I told him I understand, but I want kids, and if this will be a deal breaker, then I need to know. I also suggested when he can get insurance to go to therapy or journal or church. Those are your 3 options. Whatever he thinks may help. He didn't leave and decided to stay at my place, so I asked him if he could help me put a desk together for school to take our minds off of it. He told me he didn't feel like it today. He would give me random looks while playing his game and shake his head.
For putting a desk together?
I asked him why did he do that. See this? I don't know what this person's saying. And he said it was nothing. I decided to start on the desk myself, and then he asked if I needed help. That became another argument because I told him I'm not going to keep asking him if he doesn't want to. So then he said I'm the one with an attitude and created a stressful environment, the same environment that he says he loves being around. I love him, but I feel like maybe it's not the best to continue this relationship if I don't know what I will get each day. It's draining. I know that bipolar isn't his fault, but I've explained to him that I've accepted him for who he is. And I also have a sister who is bipolar, so I understand. Anytime I say that or try to help him, it doesn't seem good enough, and I feel like I'm fighting for something and I don't know what. I still have to get this other part to his gift this week because it won't be ready until then, but I don't know. I want kids. He has changed his mind about a lot of things he didn't want. However, I don't know if I can still change or still be around to find out if that'll change. I just don't know if it's his bipolar or if this is truly how he feels. It just really hurts because we made all these plans for the future. I even asked him how does he not want kids, but not use protection. Anyway, he said he'll just have to deal with it, whether it's me or not. I don't know if English is his person's first language, but we'll leave that there. There's a lot.
There's a lot there. I would certainly say, obviously, to the person, like, kids is a deal breaker. So, like, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, okay, like, if the question is whether or not to continue the relationship, like, kids is something I feel like you can't really be, like, super wish-washy about. If you're kind of like, I for sure want kids, I need to be with someone who for sure wants kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he had said he wanted kids, and now he's kind of backtracking. The bipolar disorder kind of complicates this a little bit, but I also don't really know how, like, being bipolar would or would not affect.
I feel like that really wouldn't be, like, you wouldn't change your mind on that. I don't think. My advice is that if you want kids and your partner does not want kids, you probably will not be together long term.
Yeah.
That's not really something you can compromise on. And it also just sounds, based off the other things you were saying, there's a lot of confusing things going on. Maybe it'd benefit you both to take a break for a little bit.
Yeah.
From each other.
Okay. My 29 male girlfriend, 30 female, posted online that she does not like me and is miserable. Oh. How do I move forward?
You don't.
Hi guys. So basically, I have been dating this girl for a little over a year. We moved in together about a month ago. I know her Reddit name, and I occasionally check her page to see what books
Does
movies
she know
she's
you know her
about.
Reddit name?
Don't know. This time, she had responded to an Ask Reddit basically saying she learned her lesson about moving in with someone she does not like or have chemistry with. This is pretty harsh wording, and I'm not even sure what to do. Should I just send her a screenshot of the comment and be like, message received?
Oh.
How do I move forward? Has anyone dealt with anything similar? First of all...
That's kind of a hysterical response.
Yeah, it is. I thought so, too. First of all, has she lived with anyone else?
That's what I was
going to say. Are there any other
could it be about anyone else
relationships in the past? She could easily be referencing, you know,
my last boyfriend was awful. Never doing that again. You know what I mean?
So, first and foremost, especially, like, if this is coming out of, like, left field to you, and you're like, this is news to me, then hopefully it's because it's not about you. If she has not lived with anyone else, and you're kind of led to believe, oh, this has to be about me.
I would approach the conversation first by saying, are you having, like, second thoughts about, like, us living together?
I know, I'm kind of like, should you, like, try and bypass the Reddit?
Don't bring up the Reddit thing unless, like, she's, like, high-key avoiding it and being like, no, like, everything's good and fine. And then be like, okay, well, like, I have to be honest. I don't know if you, like, were on her computer and, like, that's how you know her Reddit thing. I wouldn't say you, like, go and, like, stalk her Reddit username or whatever to see what she's updating people on. But imply in some way, shape, or form that you found her
The
Reddit,
post.
found the post, saw her comment, and then say, so I'm
I wanted
compelled to believe
talk through
otherwise.
this a little bit.
But you need to talk about it.
Yeah. Like you can't just ignore that because you're living together and she hates someone that she lived with or lives with. I don't know who, but I wish you the best of luck. That would have been funny, but I wouldn't recommend going about it that
Message
way.
received. That would be funny. Boyfriend 25 male doesn't want me 24 female to go on work vacation. What should I do? Hi guys, I 24 female have just gotten my first job. It's in a service sector and we rely on sales and good relationships and networking. We have a company vacation coming up soon and my boyfriend 25 male doesn't want me to go. We've been together for about a year and are both from conservative backgrounds. He says if we were married, he wouldn't allow me to go, which is understandable, I guess. But he says if I don't want to act like that is a relationship we have, then let him know so we are on the same page, meaning he will also act accordingly. Not sure to what extent. Pause, because that didn't make any sense to me. Like when she was like, if we were married, he wouldn't let me go.
Which
What do you
makes sense.
mean? What do you mean if you were married, he wouldn't let you go? Wouldn't let you go on a work trip? That's weird. Anyways, and then it's also like her being like, he's like threatening her, like, oh, if you don't see us as being basically married, then I'm gonna act single? Like, anyway, that's only the first paragraph. Thing is, this vacation isn't compulsory. I don't think it would look great if I turned down their invitation, especially in a sector where you're supposed to engage with people. And also I was kind of excited about it because I'd love to get to know everyone a bit more and feel a bit more part of the team. Also, my dad is really strict and he'd be happy for me to go, so I don't get why my boyfriend is having such an issue with it. He's a student and had to go for a week to a place on the outskirts of the city for school. To me, this is the same thing. Are you like in BYU or something? It's still co-ed and
What
it's
is
with
the issue
people
with this
your own
work
age,
trip?
but I obviously understand it's compulsory, though my work vacation isn't compulsory. I think it's important to go, or is it not the same? I'm from a conservative background where women are always having to compromise for the males, and it builds resentment, and I'm really scared of letting myself get into something where I lose my freedom without reason. But I'm not sure if this is making me biased. Am I being unreasonable to still want to go? What can I do? Here's an edit/update at the end.
What is so scandalous about going on this work trip?
Right? She's, without saying it, she's making it sound like because it would be like an overnight stay type of
With
deal
co-ed.
with like men and women who are part of the trip. That's like where this scandal comes in for her boyfriend.
If you guys are staying in separate rooms, which I'm sure is the case, I think everyone needs to act like a mature adult here and let her go on the work trip without any threatening messages or I said you can't go, I'm in charge.
This is again where I have the bad advice for the relationship to be like, well, you gotta leave him. If you want advice to stay in the relationship, I would say you guys need to...
I think you need to stand your ground, first of all, because...
You already said you don't want to...
He could then accept where you're at because that's what you want. And then he obviously can have a response, whether it's, okay, I'm going to try and be reasonable and let you do that. Or obviously he could decide like, no, I'm not allowing that.
Yeah.
So.
And you did say you don't want to lose your freedom. You don't want to like lose your independence. So I feel like you need to establish what that means for your relationship and like what can he have a say in or an opinion on.
This would not be something that I would do purely for the sake of like giving him a reason to trust me more. But I'm saying this as a way that you could compromise possibly if you needed or wanted to offer like check-in calls with him. I would not personally do that.
This
okay?
episode is like titled
I
in
am
a different
trying
way.
to say I'm saying you guys should stay in your relationship. I'm not trying to encourage everyone to just break up with their significant other. But that's an option.
You like FaceTime fall asleep to each other. Okay. Edit/update. I don't know what to call it. He now says that when he went on his trip that his two girlfriends from his class suggested that they all go on a vacation together with his guy bestie, and he turned it down out of respect. I don't know how I would feel about him going with these girls, but when he could easily take me too, as it is in a professional environment, and they're just friends. To me, this isn't the same thing, but am I not just being biased? Also, for clarity, I don't drink or party, and the point of the trip is team building. They're all professional. It's a very, very small company of like 8 people, half of which are married and much older. So that wasn't much of an update. That also was not the same thing. Him being like, I didn't go on this trip I was invited on because I thought it'd be disrespectful. You could have said,
my work trip is not going to be disrespectful.
Anyway, most of the people in the comments, the first, this made me laugh. You know how like in a Reddit comment you can like respond to like certain parts of a section at a time? This one is someone responding to the part that says, he said if we were married he wouldn't allow me to go, which is understandable, I guess. Someone said that's not understandable at all.
Okay. This next one is need advice. This one is kind of like confusing to be honest, but buckle up with me for this one, okay? Is my 25 female friend, 28 male, interested in me romantically or just as a friend? So I have this friend. His name is Jonathan. We've been friends for about 6 years now. I was friends with his sister Sam first and have been friends with Sam for about 11 years. Despite being friends with Jonathan for about 6 years, I've only met him in person 3 times before 2024. I was kind of like...
So are you friends? Or just like you've met him? You're like, oh, that's my friend's brother.
Most of our relationship and communication was done through texts, no calls or FaceTime. Okay.
Her friend is a catfish.
In early February, he messaged me saying that we should meet up, and I agreed. A couple of weeks later, Sam asked me to hang out, and I thought, why not hit 2 birds with 1 stone and hang out with both of them? So I asked both of them separately if they wanted to hang out, all 3 of us. Sam said that she wanted to hang out separately first, just us 2, before hanging out with Jonathan, and I was okay with that. So I made plans to meet Sam first on a Tuesday, and at the same time made plans with Jonathan to meet up with him and Sam at the Wads. I don't know if this is like a place or what. The Thursday after. When I was making these plans with Jonathan, I had assumed, yes, I know I should not assume, he was checking with Sam to make sure that those plans worked for her as well. When Tuesday came around and I met up with Sam, I asked her if she was coming to the Wads with us on Thursday, and she had no idea what I was talking about. Apparently, Jonathan did not tell her of our plans to meet up on Thursday. Sam said that she could not go because she had already made plans with someone else. So Thursday comes around, and when I'm getting ready to meet up with Jonathan, he texts me saying Sam dipped last minute, LOL, which I thought was weird because Sam already was not going. When I meet up with Jonathan, he says it again. I just tell him that I already knew. The dinner goes well, and it definitely gives date vibes. It's a candlelit dinner, and we're drinking wine. Towards the end, even the waiter thinks it's a date as he just hands the check to Jonathan, who just pays for it without question. When I ask him if he would like me to Venmo him back, he says not to worry about it. Then he walks me back to my car. Granted, our cars just happened to be parked near each other. But during the dinner, we were not flirting and talking as friends, at least from my perspective. A couple of weeks later, I invite Jonathan to watch a new movie in theaters, and he agrees. At this point, we've become closer as he's been texting more often, almost every day. He gets the tickets for us. He tells me he'll pick me up to go to the movie theater. On the day of the movie, he hurts his knee playing a sport. He still makes an effort to come pick me up despite being in so much pain. I told him that he might have done some serious damage to his knee and that he should go to urgent care. He says okay after I had to convince him to go to urgent care and profusely apologizes for not being able to make it, gives me the ticket and says that I should take someone else to the movies as he does not want me to miss it. So then, fast forward to April, I hang out with Sam. I tell her about the dinner situation, ask her if it was intentional on Jonathan's part because it did give date vibes. Sam tells me that Jonathan did tell her about the date or the dinner the day of, saying, "Aren't you going to dinner with us?" Obviously, Sam had previously made plans, so she said no. Sam then tells me that this is something that Jonathan tends to do. He will make plans with Sam, but doesn't actually. And then the day of the plan comes, he'll ask Sam about it as if they made those plans when they really didn't. Sam also tells me that Jonathan had gone on a couple of dates with another girl too. Then a few weeks ago, we met up at a cafe and it went well. We just talked and had a good time. As he was leaving, he says, "Bye, Isla. Text me when you get home." It seems he was about to say "I love you," but stopped himself. For me, it's normal to say "I love you" when saying bye to friends, even between male/female friendships. So if he had just said that "I love you" instead of stopping himself, I would not have thought twice about it. But this is something we have never done with each other, even over text. And here's another dilemma. One thing I noticed is that he never texts me first. I'm almost always the one to text first. Recently, we went almost 2 weeks without texting because I was waiting to see if he would text first and then he did not. I eventually had to text him to make plans. So that's her thought. She says, what do you think? What should I do? Do you think I might be making something out of nothing? I feel like this is what's happening, but I'm so mixed and confused. We don't even talk about relationships, so it's not like I can ask him if he's even seeing someone, because that would be pretty obvious.
Does she want him to be interested in her?
I know. I'm like, what do you think, girly? What are your thoughts? Because here's my impression.
Because I feel like he seems indifferent.
He seems pretty
at this
indifferent,
point.
I think. Especially, like, he probably thought, and this isn't, like, great either way, but, like, he probably was, like, asking Sam, are you coming to the dinner with us today? Because he probably thought you had reached out to her as well to say, like
you guys are both doing the thing where, like, oh, he'll tell Sam, and then he's like, she'll tell Sam, and then no one
like,
tells
especially
Sam.
if you were the one initiating, like, hey, do you and Sam want to do dinner on Thursday? And you're the one texting him that by himself. He's not gonna text Sam and be like, Sam, do you want to join us for dinner? He'd be like, sure, sounds good. Assuming you had been the one to also reach out to Sam. At least that's what I would think. If you're the one trying to make plans or make a group text, that'd be another thing.
Next time,
make a group text. So the dinner thing, I really think is he was probably fully ready for it to be a dinner with all three of you. And
like, you can't even, you have to
wasn't.
completely disregard. You'd be like, it was a candlelit dinner. You made the plans. Like, you set that up as a date then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to be like, the vibes were romantic. It was your place. You set it up. So you can't project that onto, like,
and you said, like, the conversation was very friendly and not flirty. He went 2 weeks without texting you, no
he
problem.
doesn't text you first.
And you don't seem like you're, like, you seem like you are kind of trying to make something out of nothing and probably just overanalyzing it.
And you don't seem like you really want to date him either. So I feel like you just keep being friends with him.
Yeah.
And, like, if anything were to change, because, like, maybe he will, be interested in you after a while. Maybe you'll be interested in him. But, like, just be friends.
Not right now. Not right now.
Okay. Hand me the next one because I had all of them on my phone. This will be a surprise to me, too, as I read it. Okay. How do I tell if interest is fading between us? 25 male, 25 female. Hi, people. So I've been seeing this girl for about 4 months. To be totally honest, it's not that we've been seeing each other for 4 full months, maybe like 5 times total across the time. We've been on several dates, etc. My reasoning for posting this is because the honeymoon phase, which lasted about 3 weeks, okay, out of 4 months, communication just died down drastically. Both of us make effort to communicate with one another as much as possible throughout the week, a couple days of texting, but to be totally honest, it just ends up super dry. I've spoken to her about it, and she says she's interested in pursuing it further to see where it goes. But to be totally honest, sometimes it goes 3+ days without a message, and I'm always the one to initiate the convo, and when it does happen, it's just super dry, as I mentioned before. The next issue is that we are planning our next date, mainly me as always, and she's been stalling to let me know. I've had to remind her a few times, and she says she'll let me know, etc. It's getting to the point where I feel like she's avoiding it despite the fact that she suggested the place of the next date. I see that she has gone out with friends on a few occasions. I'm not saying she should be spending that time with me, but I've heard this saying a few times, and it's got me thinking. The saying is, if she's truly interested, she'd make the time, which got me thinking. If he wanted to, he would. If she is this free, why has she not expressed her availability? I want to mainly know from the ladies, as they may relate to this perspective and show a perspective I'm not quite seeing. I really like this girl, but I do think it's coming to a point that interest is fading when she says it's not.
I feel like she's trying to slow fade, and or unfortunately just like keeping her options open.
Yeah.
Which is not good to hear. Like, for your perspective, like, I think this is the time to exit out of the situation.
Especially like 4 months and you've only been on like 5 dates.
I know. And before I got to the part in that where I was reading it and like he hadn't brought up how he was trying to like consistently plan a next date and she was the one brushing him off, I was kind of like, have you tried to see her in person and like, beyond just like the texting over the phone?
Or like, do you try to FaceTime? Like, if we're trying to like give you some advice for like the texting's always dry. Well, sometimes texting is like stupid.
No one wants to. Like, yeah. Some people don't want to spend their entire day texting.
So like maybe you say, okay, we don't need to text throughout the day because like it's mostly just people being like, how's your day going? Good. You? Good. Like, you just FaceTime at the end of the day, and like you can give a little update, and like it's easier to go off into like tangents and have conversation
and get more of like a vibe
with that. If she is consistently blowing, like at this point, I would say just don't respond as long as the ball is in her court to respond. Then, like, if she wants to respond, she can. And unfortunately, she might not.
Yeah. And if she continues to, like, just do, like, the slow
or,
volley
like,
back
you
and
can keep
forth.
your options open, too. I don't think, like, 4 months is a long time, but given how inconsistent she is with communication, and if you guys have never talked about or hinted at exclusivity,
you can
even,
go
like, on
see
5
other people,
dates,
too.
you know? Like, you can keep your options open.
Yeah.
So,
sometimes the best advice is to just, like, follow their
lead.
Yeah, follow their lead. Do what they're doing. If they're keeping their options open, you can keep your options open too.
Like, I don't know how you guys met, but if you have, like, mutual friends, you could, like, get feelers out there and be like, is she interested?
Okay. My girlfriend, female 23, is driving me, 25 male, nuts with her emotional outbreaks. How would you handle this? So this happened just now, and I don't know what to do. My girlfriend was spending time with a friend of hers, and they went to the movie theater. I did not have any plans for tonight, so I stayed at my place. When my girlfriend got home at around 10:30, she expected me to go over at that moment, and I said that I was tired and will stay at my place. She started crying, but I am not sitting around waiting for her to call me so I can jump out of bed like a dog. It is one single night. We are sleeping apart. Why is it such a big deal? I know I feel bad for making her cry, but I still don't get why she's crying in the first place. This is not the first time that this is happening. How would you handle this?
I think you need to establish, like, if assuming her outbreaks are, like, from you, like, not spending the night at her place, like, she just wants you guys to, like, be together
Have
each
a schedule
night.
or, like, is the established norm, like, you're expected to be
at her beck and call?
Like, I don't know,
like,
if you're alternating who's at whose place or what, but, like, you would think if it was this important to her, and, like, I don't know what your guys' norm was, so maybe in her mind she's like, this is the norm, and the fact that you're not here, I'm upset.
It's abnormal.
Or she should have maybe said before the movie, hey, like, do you want to come over when the movie's done and we can stay at my place? Or she could have gone to your place. Like, I don't know. This seems like a potentially easy communication discussion.
You could move in together.
There's that as well.
I don't know if if she has other outbursts. Maybe there's more to this, but, like, this seems like you could communicate through this pretty easily.
And not all of these are that way.
Mm-hmm. Just, like, if there are instances where it'd be, like, questionable if you're spending the night, or, like, maybe there's a couple times a week where you're like, let's just not,
like, have separate nights.
Separate night Wednesday. Midweek.
Little break. Okay. This one, it's kind of a doozy, but I have faith in you.
Okay. I'll try my best. Long distance relationship. Boyfriend, 25 male, wants space. Should I, 26 female, move on? My boyfriend, 25 male, and I, 26 female, have been in a relationship for almost 5 months now. We have been in long distance since day one. I live in the U.S. He lives in the Caribbean. Pause on that. Oh, hold on. And we met while I was vacationing in his country. For the first 3 months, everything was amazing. He was so nice, respectful, very consistent with texting me throughout the day. We talked on FaceTime 10 plus hours a day. Oh my God, do you work?
Right.
We flew to visit each other and even took a trip together to South America. However, for the last month, things have been very weird between us. He's been texting me less and barely calling me, and when he does, it's just to ask if I'm okay, and we just have very dry conversations for 30 minutes at most. I've confronted him numerous times, and he constantly says he's been extremely busy with work and has been going through things with family. He goes out with his friends every night, and his reasoning is that since he ignored them for the first 3 months of our relationship because he was so focused on me, he wants to start living his life more. I told him if he could at least just text me to let me know if he can talk or if he's going out so I don't wait up for a call, and he started doing it a little more, but it's still very infrequent. He said he loves me and knows for a fact that I'm his soulmate, but then will say he wants to be alone. When I ask him why, he says that he wants to get his life together so he can be with me and do things that I want to do more often, such as traveling together and him eventually moving up here. In the beginning of our relationship, I did tell him that I want to have a plan on us moving together in the future, and that I am traveling more and want him to come, which was probably moving too fast. So I told him that we can slow down and not worry about the future right now, but he still seems distant. He keeps saying to give him time, and he said he would wait forever for me if he had to, and asked if I would wait for him to get things together. I have no idea what to do. I want to believe his words that he really is just trying to get his life together, and I love him and want a future, but I don't want to wait for him to be hurt in the end. I feel like I'm asking for the bare minimum, but maybe I'm being too clingy. Should I give it more time, or should I just walk away now? Ah, my goodness.
I mean, here's the thing. This is still a pretty young relationship. And not to mention, you've really only seen each other in person a select few times within like this 5-month relationship that you've had. So I'm kind of like, I go two ways on this because it's like maybe they truly are so insanely sure that like they're the right people for each other that like this feels right and the limited time is not an issue and she's already looking at how they could be no longer long distance. That's great.
I'm
However,
personally not there.
I have a hard time putting myself in that headspace. Also, I'm not this person, so that would make sense.
Are you sure that this is not a regular thing that he does with like women who travel to the Caribbean? Would be my question.
I just am wondering how much you know this person, honestly. Given like the
Like, are you on his Facebook? Like, you're on his Instagram? Like, you're friends with him? You're like Snapchat? Like, you follow him or friend him like on everything, and like you see his life. You know what I mean?
and like his people know you, you know his people. Same with like reverse.
Because if not, I would look into that. Because like I don't know how you met him, but like if it's a way that he could meet a lot of other women who are traveling, I would be hesitant about if the start of your relationship
What
was
made you
not
so different?
also the start of perhaps a few relationships he has. And since you're long distance, it'd be very easy for him. I mean, you also said your FaceTime 10 plus hours a day. He can't do that with everyone. So I get that. But maybe he's found someone else, and that's why he's getting more distant. I don't know.
I also just feel like, I mean, at the end of the day, this could function like any other long distance relationship does, and people do long distance all the
I
time.
personally don't get why you would ever start a long distance relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just barrier after barrier, communication breakdown after communication breakdown. I feel like if I was in a long distance relationship, I would personally need to have like a set schedule of like when we're seeing each other in person next, because like that at least allows you to like actually physically like be together and like
Or like it gives you like a
have a
countdown of some
relationship.
sort.
And I feel like that would give you a better idea of like, this is how like I kind of have like an idea of like his life when he's down here, or he can see like what my life is like when I'm here, and it gives you a better insight into like your compatibility together, whether things are going to be going long term. Like you could still continue doing long distance. I just think it needs to be a little bit more structured if that's what you need, and or I mean, yeah, that's what I would say.
Have you also like met his family? Would be like another question. I feel like if you,
Because I mean, you're doing long distance in different countries. That's a pretty big commitment.
yeah, like if you have met his family, I feel like he'd be less likely to cheat at that point. Not impossible, but less likely.
Okay. Here is the last one. My 28 male girlfriend, 27 female, left me because of my mom. I write this with a very heavy heart.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
my girlfriend, now ex, decided to end our 1.5-year relationship because my mom is an alcoholic, which she knew before dating, and says she can't stay with me and doesn't see a future with me because of my mom. I did tell her that I'll make things work out and she doesn't have to be worried about my mom, but she does not believe it, and in just 3 days she has stopped talking to me completely. She, however, messaged me and told me she still loves me and wants to stay friends. If things get better, we can start dating again. I don't know how can I do anything to make it right because I cannot control my mom, and she has been an active alcoholic for the past 18 years. I do not know what is the right thing to do. I honestly just want someone to understand.
I'm curious, how old are they?
27, 28.
Why is your mom's alcoholism that big of a factor
I know, that's kind of
in
what
a
I was wondering.
relationship? Are you like living
Are you
together?
living with him? or with your mom.
Are you
Yeah.
actively taking care of her or like managing her in some way, shape, or form? And
'Cause
then
that
like
could
she doesn't
be,
see
like-
herself being like a caregiver type of person. I don't know.
I know, I'm kind of like, in my mind, I'm like envisioning like his mom's like living separately, and other than having not the best tendencies, it's kind of like you don't date someone for their parents, and like parents can be a barrier and maybe not a highlight to the person
Yeah.
you're dating, but like at the end of the day, you're dating whoever you're dating and not their parents. So especially given they've been dating for a year and a half, this does seem kind of sudden based on like what he's describing. But like, you also like, you can't change anything about her response or her breaking up with you.
I don't know. Maybe you'd be able, like, if she's willing to communicate with you, are you able to glean any more insight into like what specific aspects of your mom's alcoholism like is the issue? Is it because she doesn't want her grandkids, or not her grandkids, she doesn't want her kids to like have that as a grandmother, have her as a grandmother?
Is it like, has she been idealizing this, like, this is what my life is going to look like, and this doesn't fit that?
Because if that's the case, I don't know, maybe you could say how you would like work through the future of your life, like with navigating that obstacle. Like, I don't think it needs to be like the end all be all, because no one can control their family, and that would be very unfortunate if your seemingly good relationship aside from that ended for something that was outside of your control. So have a conversation about it.
Yeah. And you'd have to like maybe personally just weigh like, what are you willing to give or take? Like, is your mom like toxic to you at all? Do you feel like you need to distance yourself from her, or do you feel like that's not, like, despite her being an alcoholic, is it not worth, like, you don't want to distance yourself more from her? Because like,
Will you disown your mom for your relationship?
like, I don't know. If some people like they are perfectly happy kind of taking a step back from like their parents if they're toxic or they don't get along. So distance could be helpful for the sake of your girlfriend being more likely to come back. But still a sad situation.
Okay. That's all we've got. Thank you guys for listening and bearing with us. If it's not obvious by our glistening eyes and our red noses, Megan and I are not doing well today.
We're struggling. Our allergies they've been tough on us the past couple weeks. So we are just doing the best we can.
Let us know if you enjoyed us going through this Reddit thread. If you have your own thoughts or advice that you would have given, you can comment on the YouTube video, or we probably have an episode post on our Instagram that you can share your thoughts.
And we will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.